Hi, and welcome to this week's Mortgage Broker broadcast. My guest this week is Melissa McKeown from Mortgage Broker UK, and I wanted to get Melissa onto the podcast just to talk about her journey. She's a background. She's been in estate agency, then estate agency mortgage services, self-employed. She's been employed in a call center mortgage broker environment. She's worked in a firm, and more recently, she's set up her own brand and business. So I wanted to get Melissa on the podcast to talk about that, talk about the challenges that she's faced and general challenges in terms of being a self-employed mortgage broker, particularly working on your own. So yeah, let's just get Melissa onto the podcast. You're listening to the Mortgage Broker broadcast with me, Craig Skelton, the podcast which helps mortgage brokers at all stages of their mortgage broking career. So welcome to the podcast, Melissa. How are you?
Hi, yes, good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Thank you for agreeing to come on to the podcast. I'm looking forward to and excited to talk about your journey and your experiences and what you've achieved today and what the future looks like. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting podcast, and I can't wait to just hear more about it. So, and like I say, you do your introductions in a second, because I'm guessing people will be able to get an idea in terms of your location, or at least your background in terms of location. But you don't have to. You just said then before we hit record, you're going to try and put your posh Scouse accent on. You don't need to do that, Melissa. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Do you want to just give a brief introduction about who you are?
Yeah, so I'm Melissa. I have just started my own mortgage company called Mortgage Broker UK. I have over 7 to 8 years experience, but not with just in the mortgage industry. I come up through really the estate agent industry, lettings, started as a lettings negotiator, then was an assistant to the mortgage advisor in the office that I was based, and then he really pushed me to do my CMAP, and it just kind of went from there really.
Right, excellent. So your background before you got into mortgages was estate agency. Was estate agency always something you wanted to do? Obviously, we'll talk about mortgages in a bit, but was estate agency always the letting side of things something you wanted to do, or is that just something you fell into? Or
it was literally like, I never get when people always say, "Oh yeah, I just fell into that," and I always used to think, "Oh yeah, all right," but literally, I just fell into this. Yeah, I'd been working abroad. I had no estate agency experience at all. I was working abroad in a course, like a course, like typing verbatim type of thing. That was what I was doing.
right.
I had no experience in estate agents, mortgages, anything like that. Basically, then saved up money to buy my own house. And as I was going, the mortgage broker that I used, I was like, God, this seems like a really good job, like being an estate agent. I just got like a really nice, I was like, oh yeah, this is great. This is what an office. This will be amazing to do. And then when my contract ended, I was just applying for jobs back in the UK, and I was like, I want to work in an estate agents. And then literally just got a lettings job, and then Paul, who was the mortgage broker in that office, we just got on dead well, and his assistant was leaving a few months later, and he was like, "You need to be my assistant. You need to get on this." And then I was like, yeah. And then went for the interview, got it, and then he was like, "You need to do CMAP. You need to do CMAP. We need to be advising together." So literally, I did just fall into it in that type of way. Yeah.
That's always the same. Like you said, people sort of say, "Oh, fell into." That's why I use that terminology, because you tend to find that people just do. Nobody can imagine anybody going through school, going through college, going through university, going, "Do you know what? I want to be a mortgage broker. I want to be an estate agent." It's just not. Everybody falls into financial mortgage broker anyway. Not everybody just falls into financial services, because people do have aspirations to work in financial services, but especially estate agency and mortgage broking, you tend to find that people. I'm going to get loads of comments now saying, "Oh no, I knew that in school I wanted to be a mortgage broker." So we're going to bring a bit of feedback on that. But so, what was it when you look back? What was it about the estate agency when you sort of had exposure to estate agency, what was it that appealed about that kind of environment?
I think it was just I was buying my first house, and I think it was just going to view properties. Like that's exciting, really exciting when you're buying your first house, and you think, yeah, this is great. I'm getting my house. I just need to find it. You just get a real buzz about it. And I always say to my clients when they're completing, and then when I ring them to sell, it's all going through and whatever, remember that you will never forget this day. You will always remember the first day you moved into your new house. I always remember the first day I moved into both of my houses, and it was just one of the best days. So yeah, and then just like the girls in the office and the bit of banter that they were all having and stuff like that, I was thinking, yeah, I should fit in.
So you saw basically the good parts of being a estate agent, so you didn't see all the trauma and the drama and the vendors and the buyers and all that sort of side of things. You saw the nice side of things. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have a bit of this. Everybody seems to have banter in the branch and in the office, but then I'm guessing after the first week you're thinking people are kicking off, clients are unhappy, everybody's sort of but it's just moving home, as we all know, is a stressful time, so that you are dealing with heights of emotions for people anyway, in terms of so you got the reality soon, I'm guessing, quickly into the
yeah, very much so. After you've made like the 50th call to try and get someone to either view a property or reduce the house price, it was very much like, oh God. And then but yeah, it was good. It was good fun. It's probably one of the best jobs I've had, working in an estate agent, because you just don't know what that day is going to bring.
Yeah, that's certainly the case. And when you work in an estate agent, as in, because we've had sort of, obviously, my background is estate agency, mortgage services. I've never been an estate agent, but spent plenty of time in estate agency. You're certainly never going to know what the day is going to bring when you're opening that door in the morning. That is which makes it exciting. And that's same for a mortgage broker, isn't it? That in terms of what you're doing now is sort of which we'll come on to. But so was it? You sort of said Paul. Was it Paul really that you sort of saying you fell into mortgage broking? It was Paul that pushed in sort of, you need to be doing this. You need to become my assistant. You need to then take your CMAP. It wasn't sort of, it was just a natural progression of falling into mortgage broking.
Literally, yeah. If it wasn't for Paul, I wouldn't have. If it wasn't for him pushing me to do it, and then on my dinner, so I was Paul's assistant, and he'd be in his office, and I'd be out with the girls and the lads in the office, and I'd be sitting at the back doing my mortgage stuff. And then on my dinners, I would go and sit in the car and just revise my CMAP. Done it for like 6 months, not every single day, just when I sat in the car, just listening to the audios, doing the mock tests, and then I'd come in, and then when Paul had a spare hour, he'd be like, right, let's do the tests together. He'd always pass them, and I'd, be like, well, have you got to that answer? And then he'd explain it. And then that was it. And then I just eventually passed the tests, and then that estate agent then gave me a job as a broker. But then they made quite a few redundancies like a year or two after. So then I got made redundant. I left Paul, and then went to just a brokerage. It wasn't estate agent based at all. So that was really good to get a new experience on how they worked, and just it wasn't an estate agent based at all. And then I ended up going to work before I started on my own, for Strike, and that was just a remote broker at home. But that was dealing with clients all over the UK: Manchester, London, Newcastle, Birmingham, Liverpool, Wales, and that was very, very fast paced, very fast paced. But yeah, again, loved it. Yeah.
Excellent. So you spent a couple of years advising within the large corporate estate agency, and then what was sort of like your thoughts at that time? Obviously, when you made redundant and thinking about that, was it always part of the plan to go? We'll come on to business owning in a bit, but was it always part of the plan? Because obviously you've gone from employed to, and then sort of been at Strike, which is employed as well. Was it always? Did you always want to be self-employed? Was that always part of the plan?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's like a hairdresser. You'd always want your own salon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's always the goal. Was always the goal for me anyway, to be like, yeah. And at Strike, I was doing that many mortgages a month. Like I was doing 24 to 25. When we were really busy, mortgages a month, and I did have admin help. Don't get me wrong, but I was like, I can do this. And I know I can do this. And then it was just taking that step then to go, yeah, I'm gonna do it on my own.
And so that was
I think it was always the goal.
it was always the goal. That was back in sort of like, because that's when you sort of talking about this, it seems like quite a while ago. When I look back in terms of your experience, obviously you left Strike in November last year. Is that about right? So it's only sort of no, not November last year. Yeah. So so it's only, obviously this is going to be like going out in July. So we're recording this in June, going out in July. So that's going to be sort of you're not even sort of 2 years into sort of doing this whole mortgage broking, self-employed, and now you've got your own brand, firm, business, and everything else going on. So you've got to Strike. That was call center based. Was that sort of just on the phone you was doing that?
Yeah, it was all just phone based, which was fine, great, and because we were all in COVID anyway, so it was kind of the new. And yeah, it was absolutely fine. Clients were not a problem. I know some clients like to be face to face, and but yeah, it was free as well. That was the thing. It was a free service for them. So
that is based on volume. Then, like when you're talking about 24 mortgages a month and things like that over the phone, then it is very much a process. I think it is a volume business model compared to, I'm guessing, what you're doing now. So when you left Strike, was that then to then go and work for you didn't instantly set up your own business, and when you went self-employed, you went to work within a firm within HLP? Is that right? Is that what you were doing then?
Yeah. So I went to work for a firm within my network now, but under self-employed. But we were sort of what I wanted to do was be self-employed, but also have my own logo and brand and things like that. But our network, unfortunately, wouldn't let us do that at the time. Wouldn't let us do the trading style. Right. So it just turns out that I had to go sort of completely on my own. Which again, it was just another, if I'm going to do this, and I need to do it type of thing.
Right.
I need to buy a ticket and do it.
Buy a ticket and do it. That's probably not a bad analogy in terms of that. So like we've obviously understood that it was part of the plan to go self-employed, part of the plan to own your own business, and giving you sort of journey from estate agency, from being an estate agent into mortgage servicing estate agency, to then you've sort of experienced pretty much everything from as a mortgage broker can experience from a work environment point of view, because you've had estate agency, you've been self-employed in a firm, you've been in a call center, so you've got quite a bit of a diverse and a good experience and good grounding to then use that to then set up your own firm. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would definitely, because just before, when I left the estate agent and went up before I started at Strike, I worked in a brokerage as well, and it was really good to see how other brokers work, I think that's really good experience to have. I think as well, the experience I got from being Paul's assistant was, I couldn't buy that, because I knew exactly how the clients wanted to be spoken to, how, what they expect communication wise, what the lenders are already asking for. So by the time I qualified and, got into doing my appointments, I knew I had to be very on the ball with, right, you've only just started and got a new contract, so some lenders want 3 months. I already knew stuff like that. Just little things like that, they've got a CCJ, default, whatever, right, and it's these type of lenders I need to go to. And that clients just want to be kept updated, basically, and they appreciate that little text or email to say they've just requested this and I've just sent it over, we're looking at another 2 days. So I just was kind of very on, and knew what the clients wanted, really.
Right. So how new is it to then setting up your own firm? So we can see obviously people are watching the podcast, they can sort of see the brand and logo behind you in terms of when did that get set up? When did that dream become a reality? We'll go through the pain in a second because I'm going to take you back to various points, but when did that dream become a reality of having Mortgage Broker UK? When did that finally get set up?
Well, I think when I left Strike, that was always that I always wanted to do that. So it was kind of in the process, but then when it was like, well, no, if you're going to do that, you need to go down this route on your own. So officially, I think it was April we got set up officially. And it's been great. It's been great. It's scary, don't get me wrong. You get them days when you phone and you're like, hello, is anyone ringing today? Or you think, I haven't really got that much on. And then next minute your phone's going and you're getting, can you ring this person? All my friends just had an offer accepted, or can you get me a dip and things like that. And you're like, God, I didn't really have anything that much on today, and now I'm busy. And then that's just a roll and just rolls on there to the next week when you've got the offer accepted and things like that.
Do you think that, because obviously, like you say, you sort of used the word scary in terms of setting your own firm up, it's going to be doing something new and challenging, like, and even though it's in an environment and an industry that because you've had, like I say, you've had various experience in various, in every single aspect of being a mortgage broker, phone, corporate, and all the rest of it. But what sort of, like, how do you sort of deal with those sort of things? Is it a case of just what you said, buying the ticket and getting on with it? Do you how do you face sort of like being brave and having that sort of scared time of thinking, oh my God, this is mine now. This is actually my name above the door. This is my business. How does that make you feel? I've asked you loads of questions there, but hopefully you can answer.
For me personally, when I was doing this, I thought, I think I've said this to you before, I've got on the boat from employed to self-employed. I've got to the self-employed island, if you like, and that boat's burnt. I can't get back onto that self-employed part, if you like. Yeah. So I just think it's in my head, if I think this is going to work, this has to work, this will work, there's no going back. I don't want to go back to being employed. So I would do anything, legally to get this, to work. And I've just, when them thoughts do come in my head, like, oh God, I am maybe a bit quiet this week, or what else can I do? You're just constantly thinking, what else can I do? Who else can I speak to? And there's always something to do. There's always something. There's always people I can phone. There's always estate agents I can start phoning around. Or I can go and start making connections and businesses around the office where I'm based. I just think there's always something I can be doing to be building this. But when them thoughts do come in, I do just think to myself, you're in it, you are doing it now, and this is it. And sometimes I do have to take, I do think, wow, this is mine, and this is, no one's paying me at the end of the month. I'm not getting that nice little pay slip with my commissions on, and that's coming from me. So yeah, and it just drives me more really when I think I'm not getting that pay slip. So I just think, well, I need to do this now.
That's a great analogy. No, I love the analogy that you're not getting that pay slip. And I think from what you're sort of saying and what I'm taking from that is that, like you say, there's no going back. I'm not going back to the employed world. And I think it's great that you've got that attitude and belief, because I do talk about that a lot in terms of that should be your drive and motivation. Why you went employed in the first place, and where you went self-employed in the first place and left the employed world behind. You should use that as a motivation, take you back to that place where you're thinking, I need to get out of the employed world. I need to have this flexibility. I need to have this freedom to do what I want to do. And I think that's then using that as a spark and motivation to drive you on and think, when you will have those dark times, like you say, when people aren't calling you, there's no leads coming in, people aren't getting offers accepted, and all those other things. You using that as your inspiration drive to do, like you say, there is always stuff to do. And as being a mortgage broker, you're never going to get a day when you're going to come in and think, what should I do today? There's not really much to do. Like you say, especially when you're running your own business and running your own brand and your own business. And even if you're self-employed in a firm, there's always still stuff that you can do in terms of brand awareness and lead generation and everything else. So one thing I want to just ask you, Melissa, in terms of when because I see you on social media, your Instagram feed comes up in my feed sort of constantly from the branding kind of thing. What was sort of like the plan? Because from doing my research in terms of looking at you as a podcast guest, I can see your website. I can see that you work with certain estate agents. I can see that you do your own content and social media. Was there sort of like a plan of attack with that? Was there a step 1, step 2, step 3, or was it just a scattergun? What was your thought about building your business and your brand from a marketing point of view?
I think it was speaking just to other business owners, just other business owners that are in the same industry, and getting their advice and on what they've done and how they were successful. And when I'm confident in my job, I know I'm good at what I do, and I think that's what drives me as well. I think, no, this will work because I'm good at it, or I can do it. I know what clients want, and that drives me as well, because I think when you're doing all the brand awareness and you're trying to think of social media content, and you're not at the good bit where you're not getting the offers accepted, or you're doing your dips and your applications, that's the juicy bit, that's the bit you want to be full of that all day. But you're doing the tedious, I don't know, like trying to get fit type of thing. You're just doing it day in, day out stuff. That's what builds it to the offers, the applications, the dips, the referrals. So yeah, I just think you need to just kind of keep going with it and not stop. And you can get in your own head as well. And I think you just got to be you've got to be confident in yourself and confident that you can do this. And everyone's got to start from this. Everyone starts from that idea, and everyone starts at the bottom. And that's how I think as well. Everyone's been where I've been, and like the Chris, who I speak to, who's also a mortgage broker and got his own company, he says, we all started here, like, you've just got to keep going, you've just got to keep in your head, this will work, and it will work. You've got no other option.
I think it's just something you sort of said a little bit back in terms of when you sort of explain a bit more about that, because one thing is the feedback that I get, and it's great to hear your comments on that with like talks to Chris and other business owners, because there is a lot of help and support to become a self-employed mortgage broker and a business owner as a mortgage broker. And people don't realize that sometimes, that there are people out there that will put out content to help people, put onto social media, and happy to just have a chat through with like-minded individuals to help and share ideas from each other. And it is quite a sort of a strange mindset compared to other industries, particularly when, like, your background was simple. Like when you go back to your corporate estate agency mortgage services world, it was very much about beating the next team, beating that. There was not really much sharing kind of thing. It was a very competitive environment. Whereas now with becoming self-employed, there is a lot of people, it's very much like an abundance mindset where people are there to help and support each other. And you've got Chris next door, who's like a firm owner, so you can bounce ideas off each other. It's just great that you've got that kind of thing.
I think it's good to there's enough work out there for everyone. There's enough mortgage leads for everyone. And, I think you definitely, especially when you're self-employed and you're on your own, you do need to speak to people as well in the industry to just bounce ideas off them. Like yesterday I went in and I was like, I've got this case, like I can't think. I was so busy yesterday, then I got this call and I was like, I'll come back to you. I just couldn't think. And Chris and Paul were like, try this, what about this, what about this? And I was like, yeah, this is why we're next door to each other, and like there's no competition. We're dead encouraging. We all want to do well. That's how I look at it. But in the estate agent, when you're in, if I hadn't been and done the estate agent bit, I wouldn't have had the work ethic to know I've got to sit there and make call after call after call after call after call to be like, do you want to view this property? No. Can you reduce the price of the property? No. And it's all competition, and I wouldn't have, or viewings that are booked in. Do you want an appointment with the mortgage advisor? No. Oh, why? And coming across objectives. Mm-hmm. If I hadn't have had that experience, and if I just thought to myself, oh yeah, I'm going to be a mortgage broker, and just went into it, I wouldn't be where I am now.
It's good. It's a great story to hear, because like I say, gives you that work ethic, doesn't it, in terms of picking up the phone and speaking to people. And that's do you think you've got, because obviously there's no fear of rejection there. So when you are able to pick up the phone, and I'm a firm believer the biggest downfall for a mortgage broker is fear of rejection, because they won't pick up the phone, or they won't talk about protection, or they won't look at a referral, or there's a big thing with regards to fear of rejection. Do you think estate agency sort of then, is that what you're saying, the estate agency get knocked, that whether that was there in the first place or not, does that help with overcoming the fear of rejection? Fear of rejection, sorry, not objection, fear of rejection.
Yeah, I think you're always, no matter how good you are at your job, you're always going to get people that aren't happy. Like you can go to the top restaurant in Liverpool or Manchester or London, and the top chef in the UK, he's always going to probably get that one person that goes, actually, I didn't like that. So, I'm never under the illusion I will lose clients for certain reasons. It could be fee, it could be that you've just spoken to another broker. I'm under no illusion that I'm not going to win every single client, but I am confident in what I can offer the client, and it's just me trying to get that across to them that no, I'm in your corner. I'm not here to give you a hard sell or anything like that. I'm here to make sure you are on the best rate, you're getting the best suitable deal possible, and that you're up to date with it. And if anything I can do to help, I will help. So it's more, but in the estate agent world, it's very pushy, that type of environment, and that's the bit that I didn't like about it. So that's the bit that I've taken good things and bad things away from it. I'm not the pushy type, and I'm here in your corner. I'm here to help you. I'll speak to the estate agents, the solicitors. You let me know, and I'll help you. But I'm not going to be that, and I've took the bit where in the estate agents you ring and you've got to make them calls because you've got to log it on the system. And if you don't log it on the system, your manager's on your case, wherever you make these calls. So I've still got that instilled into me, but I've also got I didn't take the bad bit with me, if that makes sense.
No, it totally does. No, it certainly does. And it's from what I'm hearing from what you're saying, it's more about you're not that pushy salesperson, but you're not afraid of challenge. But then at the same time, it is about the service that you're delivering to the customer. That's the important side of things. It's not a case of that pushy salesperson. It's about having that sort of the confidence, like you say, and being that person. And on the one thing that, like I talk about, and there's very few people I hear talking about this, and you've sort of said that, Melissa, is about being in the corner of the buyer, like the person you're dealing with, who's your client. You're in their corner. I think that's something that has to be, you have to get across to every single client that you are on their side. You're in their corner for them, because nobody else is in their corner in this whole process apart from you as a mortgage broker. And that's the big difference with going to a bank, or like everybody talks about all the different things about reasons why using a bank or broker and all those things. For me, it's quite simple. I've got somebody in my corner. I've got somebody working for me that's on my side in this whole process, where everybody else is on somebody else's side and not mine.
Yeah, I'm your best mate if I'm doing your mortgage.
And that's how it should be. That's how it should be. That's how it should be. Well, let's just so obviously we've talked about like your journey and experiences and things like that. What challenges have you faced, particularly more recently, in terms of going self-employed or setting up your own firm? What's the things that have really sort of challenged you and made you dig deep?
Staying motivated. So, when you are that little bit quiet, staying motivated and staying positive, that I think that can really start. If you let that just go on too long, you can just be like, oh, have I made the right decision? Where's the next money coming from? What I did for that is, again, and this is again a tip off Chris, who started his own business and who's very successful in his mortgage business. Have that morning routine, be disciplined, get up early, I get up at 6 o'clock, I'll then walk the dog, I'll go to the gym, I'll get everything in line and everything at a good level for then me to come into work and give a good service then to my clients. It's staying disciplined as well, thinking, well, I haven't got an appointment till 4 o'clock, so do I really need to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning? Yeah, you do need to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you do need to do what you're doing, come into work and then start making them phone calls or going around to the estate agents, or just updating your remortgage list for the next, when with your completions. There's just always something that you can do. Write ideas down for content, go on other brokers, Instagrams, just see how they're getting on. So yeah, I think that's probably that's what I would say is quite challenging. Is just sometimes staying motivated when it is that little bit quiet. But then when it's quiet, it then just turns round and you'll just get 5 phone calls in a day out of nowhere. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, staying motivated, staying disciplined, you know, getting yourself into the office. And I think as well, when you're working alone, it can get quite isolated as well at times. So like I prefer to work in an office rather than to be at home, because if I was at home I'd just get distracted quite a bit. And getting distracted, that's another one. You know, I can go on Instagram to have a look how the Instagram's doing, and then I'm on there for half an hour looking at
Anything.
manifests and stuff like that.
But the funny thing is, you're not alone with that, and I think it is. They say it's a good point, because it's about like creating the right habits, giving you the right structure, then creates the right habits, and I think that's the easiest thing to, particularly when you've been employed for such a long time, like for such a period of time, is then because you're taught, you know what time you've got to get up because you've got to get to work at this particular time or this particular point. Whereas, like you say, if you've got tomorrow thinking I'm not going to appointment until 4, I can get up at 10 and then do a bit of scrolling and this and that. It's not, that's not how it works. You've got to stay disciplined to what, it's okay to have that time to do, like, so that obviously it's having that flexibility and freedom to do what you want to do,
Yeah,
but
of course.
it's important to keep that structure. And like you say, if you know that you get up at a certain time, you go to a gym at a certain time, you walk with the dog, you do it. It's just the habit forming, and that will then just, you can then build around your habits rather than just everything's drifting and you're trying to create some habits around drifting, which will just never work.
Yeah, I think it's consistency. You've just got to be consistent in what you're doing, and everything else will follow then. You know, you've got to be consistent on your social media, consistent with your clients, letting them know where things are up to, and yeah, consistency I think is really big as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, obviously you're self-employed, you've got your freedom as well. You know, if you've got a hair appointment or, you know, things like that, that's great. It's great. Or, you know, things that you've got to just pop out for an hour to deal with. So yeah, so there's definitely, there's more positives than negatives to being self-employed and having your own business.
Definitely. Do you think you're at a point now where, like you say, you are unemployable? Is that fair? I know I am. I know I could never go back to Spain, but I know I am unemployable now. I know that for a fact. So is that fair? Do you feel that same way?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I just think to myself now, I've done it for that. I've done the employee bit for different companies and different, being a broker in different types of environments. And yeah, you know, just going back to how many you're going to be putting on the system this week. You know, you've got to get to 20 this month. You know, you're on 15, where your next 5 coming from. You know, stuff like that. That's what I couldn't go back to that. How many calls have you made? You know, you've got a spare hour there. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, well, I'm just doing a bit of admin. What admin? You know, getting micromanaged. I don't think I could now.
No. Sounds like you could not. In terms of all the pain points you're talking about there, and I can relate to them, then, and it's funny, I think every broker that's left the corporate world can talk about those kind of things of like, well, you need to get to 20, where's your next 5 coming from? You need to get to this, where's your next? It's just sort of, yeah, it's, and that's right for certain people, and that's the corporate world. And it's good to hear that you've taken things and you've learned from the corporate world. You've learned the things and you've taken the good things with you in terms of building your own brand and having your own firm, but then also as well, learn not to what to bring with you as well, and get rid of those other things, and making sure you're running the right business. So excellent.
Yeah.
What's the next sort of? So you've had a bit of an exciting journey so far. Is there any sort of plans for the short-term future, long-term future, Melissa, in terms of for you and your business?
I think obviously we're still pretty new. I think it's just literally staying consistent. You know, keep turning up, keep the clients happy, and just try and when I am speaking to clients, just making sure that they know I am in their corner and they know that I am here to help. I'm not here for the hard sell. I will, help you every step of the way. So I think this year it would just be, just keep doing what you're doing, and then look at next year and look how far we would have come, and then go from there and build on it, really.
Yeah, definitely. I know that's good. And like you've talked, you've a few things in there where you've talked about in terms of planning for this year, making sure then you review this year in terms of what you achieved, and then looking to build on that for next year. So no, like you say,
and as well from this year, like if there's anything that I think anything that I'd change doing wise in regards to just when how often clients getting updates and things like that. If just looking back, I think I just get this year done, just see how it's going, and then just review it and be like, yeah, that was really good, that really worked well, that probably didn't work as well, so should we carry on with that, or should we not carry on with that, or should we change it a little bit? So yeah, no, it's exciting.
it sounds like exciting times for you, and I'm looking forward to sort of see how you build this and what the rest of the year looks like and beyond. So, Melissa, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being honest, sharing your experiences, sharing your journey, and agreeing to come on the podcast. So thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks, Craig.
Thank you for listening to the Mortgage Broker Broadcast, the podcast which helps mortgage brokers at all stages of their mortgage broking career. If you have any questions about this podcast or any topics you want us to discuss, or if you're interested in working with me further, then please get in touch.